Are you looking to do deals and master flipping houses? Welcome to the Do Deals Show with our host, Mr. Tim Mai. As a successful investor and mentor to many real estate investors, Tim's students consistently run 6- and 7-figure investing businesses. Each week, you'll hear from top real estate investors who share the best strategies, systems, and secrets that you can use to be more successful. Tim and his guests will pull back the curtain for you to learn their exact tactics, tricks, and tools that are working best right now in today's real estate market. Now, let's welcome Mr. Tim Mai.
All right, well, hi everybody. Welcome to another interview. I'm your host, Tim Mai, and today I have my good friend Scott Carson on the line with us. Scott, we're live on Facebook right now, buddy. Say hi to everyone.
Hello, everybody. How's it going, everybody? Happy New Year, right?
Yes, Happy New Year, exactly. And if you don't know Scott, Scott is an amazing investor, note buyer, especially around non-performing notes. And Scott is an international coach, mentor. He taught and currently teaching investors all over the world how to buy non-performing notes, how to steal assets, how to steal these notes from banks, right? Legally stealing them.
Legally steal. Let's make sure to put the legal aspect of it there.
He's been doing this for a long time since, started real estate investing in 2002. Started doing non-performing notes in 2008 when everyone was, scared to death about doing anything real estate at that time. Best-selling author. Look, the list goes on and on about Scott's credibility here, and so Scott, thank you so much for being on this interview with me today, buddy.
Hey man, glad to always be on here. Always glad to share the words of what's going on and notes and help you out along the way as well, man. I think there's not enough people helping real estate investors out there today like you and I are. Yep,
that's definitely very true. So Scott, share with everybody why notes, especially why non-performing notes when we've all been taught. And it's very comfortable for us to go buy a real asset that's tangible, like a house, that we can touch, feel, right? Why notes?
Yeah, I get that question all the time. And I think we can all agree the real estate market changes. It evolves going up and down and back and forth. Prices go up, prices go down, values change all the time. Well, one of the biggest things that always run out there in the housing industry is mortgages, right? Everybody's got to buy a house and either borrow money. And one of the biggest buildings in any town, it's always the banks. And the banks aren't in the real estate game, they're in the mortgage game, right? They're in the part of lending. That's how they make their money. They take your money in, they leverage it out by lending it out to a million other people. So why do I love non-performing notes? Because people are like, why would I ever buy or invest in something that somebody's not paying? Well, there's really three reasons for it. One, there's so much of it. There's still literally about 7 million loans out there that are still underwater from 2008, 2009. So there's a huge inventory. Second, you get better pricing on your deals. I know that so many people that are going out to the REO auctions are trying to find a wholesale deal or try to find something at 70% of value or less are struggling to find it. I love non-performing notes because the banks have this distressed debt on their books that's still backed by a house, but they got to get it off their books. So they're willing to take a loss on these notes and sell these assets to me at 25, 30, 40, 50% of current market value. So I take on the bank's headaches, and there's a whole host of exit strategies that I use, even trying to get the borrower to reperform, to make things happen, to deed in lieu, cash or keys, or if I have to, I foreclose. But that's the second thing. There's just better pricing on this thing. Inventory, pricing, and the third thing is the exit strategies. I mean, my biggest goal is not to rehab the property. I had to put a different hat on when I started buying those. My goal was to rehab the borrower. Okay? So yeah, no rehab the property. I want to rehab the borrower. So if I can buy a note at 50% of value, of current market value, reach out to the borrower and, hey, find out what's going on. Years ago, I faced foreclosure. I was facing bankruptcy. I've been in those shoes long ago. All right, so I empathize with these people that they're in houses that the market dropped down on 50%. They had no reason. They're not bad people. They lost their job. Don't get me wrong. There are plenty of deadbeat borrowers out there. But if we can reach out to somebody and get them to reinstate that loan, start making payments on time, they haven't paid in 2-3 years because their loan's been sold 3 or 4 times. Hey, bring a few months to the table, becomes a really great return for me. They start paying on time. I don't have to put out repair costs, attorney fees, and my returns are through the roof when it comes to that stuff. So that's why I love non-performing. There's plenty of inventory, better pricing, high returns with different exit strategies. And I guess you could throw the fourth one out there is it's still a niche. Not everybody knows about it.
Okay, gotcha. So what about you know how real estate has a cycle, right? Up and down. Does that happen at all in notes?
Oh, yeah, it does, definitely. We see cycles happen all the time, especially as values go up. Pricing goes up on distressed debt. When there's less foreclosures, there's less notes for us to buy. But what we have seen is people have always heard about these shadow inventory, right? Or these zombie houses that are vacant or sitting out there. Well, there's plenty of those properties to buy that individuals that are, sending out postcards and letters, they don't see because they're targeting a borrower. They're targeting one property. Well, we get these huge lists from banks that nobody sees. So it ebbs and flows. Sometimes we buy more direct from banks, like big banking institutions, and other times throughout the year we buy direct from like these real estate hedge funds, that have bought huge pools and then worked them out or try to work them out and go from there. So it varies. Markets have changed. Like I was buying a lot in Florida a few years back when nobody liked Florida because of the long foreclosure time frame. I'm buying now in Ohio and Michigan. Most people are like, oh my God, I would never buy in Cleveland or Detroit. I'm telling you what, there's a lot of money made in those lower valued assets. Where you can have somebody paying you $500-$600 a month and you buy an asset for $10,000.
Wow.
I mean, you don't have to be a mathematician to figure out returns like that.
Right. That's awesome. All right. Okay, Facebook. That's a teaser for you, right? And so make sure you keep an eye out for when we post the entire interview. Scott has a wealth amount of knowledge about note buying. He's gonna, teach you exactly how to do this and how to be profitable. More important than anything, right?
We'll bring the sexy side of real estate back to dealing in naughty notes. How's that sound?
Sounds good. All right, Facebook. So with that, make sure you leave comments if you'd like this. Leave comments, share it, and be on the lookout. So share with us, like, how did you get started in this business, and what made you switch?
Yeah, great question. I was very, very fortunate. I'll tell you that. I was working as a banker for JP Morgan Chase. I was actually a mortgage banker, financial advisor here in town. And I had a buddy that I'd been worked with beforehand who started a mortgage company here in Austin. He with a couple, I guess you say, gurus that were traveling the country teaching owner financing, wraparound mortgages, and distressed debt. And I came aboard and helped manage their mortgage company where we were doing tons of mortgages for investors and refinances and stuff like that. And so for basically 3 years, I sat in a big office right across from these gurus who were talking the note game. And I would go to their workshops and I'd sit in the back of the room and learn. And I just really had basically a 4-year apprenticeship. And that was from 2004 through 2008. And we knew what started to happen in the late 2007, 8, and 9, right? Mortgage meltdown. So I kind of stopped doing mortgages in that 4-year time period. I started doing real estate investing, subject twos, taking options, doing some short sale stuff like that. But I started dabbling in the note game. And when everything hit the fan, I can remember that Monday when banks were closing. I had closings that were supposed to happen. I was like, this is the sign I got to get out. And so I stopped doing mortgages and I flipped the other side. I started calling the banks that we were getting mortgages from and asked if they had anything defaulted. And that's what it led to. I'm like, first time I did, I made 50 phone calls to banks. And I got on my 51st phone call, I had a bank that had something for me. And so they sent me a big pool. We traded it. I made $50,000 on the trade. I was like, okay, I'm hooked, right? And then started dialing for dollars because it was a different market back then. You didn't have a lot of LinkedIn. You didn't have a lot of the social media to track down these asset managers. It was all cold calling. And I would just dial for dollars for days to get contacts. And, it was a little rough because I was getting rid of some property. I had some big rehabs that the market just dropped on me. But I supplemented my income by closing on notes. And I realized this is so much easier than going out and fix and flipping or dealing with a short sale. Just buying the paper. It was just nobody was dealing with the banks on this aspect and really found a niche. And so started just, like I said, dialing for dollars. I literally sold everything in Austin here in 2010 and took a 3-year road trip where I sold everything, and me and the dog basically drove and traveled around the country meeting with banks and asset managers and investors all across the country. And I've been basically doing that since. I became known as the note guy then from some of our videos and crazy videos of me like calling on my BlackBerry and getting hung up on 30 times from banks that people started following me on. And we just started buying deals that made sense anywhere from, we flipped a 16-unit apartment complex in LA for $100,000, or we bought a 20-unit apartment complex in Houston, another one in Dallas that we kept for a little while and sold it and made $60,000 on and $100,000 on almost immediately. And we bought an 8-plex in North Carolina that turned into a working brothel. That was a crazy deal. It was cash flowing. We didn't realize that we bought this 8-plex thing to be an apartment complex, and we get a hold of somebody like, that's a working brothel. I'm like, okay, great. So you have somebody that wants to take it off our hands, literally. Crazy stories. I mean, but along the same time frame, we started really helping a lot of people stay in their houses. We get people calling us if we bought their mortgage and they want to stay, and they've lived in the house for 18 years and raised their kids, and they could afford the existing payment. And they've been trying to do like a loan mod for 3 or 4 years, and their mortgage has been sold. And when you get letters from people or emails, or people start naming their grandkids after you, it's just been a great thing along the way. And I loved it, just stuck to it. There's nothing else that I love better right now. I still love the note game. It's still going strong, even better than it was beforehand. A lot of money, a lot of people looking for deals, so it makes it a whole lot easier now than it was in the 4, 5, 6 years ago.
Right. So I know that, most of these assets, you buy them from hedge funds and asset managers. What's the typical size that, how much are we talking about?
I get that question all the time, but it varies. We've bought anywhere from a single note for $7 or closed on a large trade for $20 million. But more so, the average trade, if you're buying 2, 3, 4 assets, is usually our normal trade when we're buying for people is usually about $250,000 or less. So those big trades take time and they're messy. And don't get me wrong, they pay good, but you've got to have your systems in place. You got to have your vendors in place to make sure everything's rocking and rolling for you. So I would say predominantly under $200,000 or less for the most part.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and then what are some of the exit strategies that we can do with these things?
Yeah, our biggest goal is always to reach out to the borrower to get them to either reinstate or modify. The biggest component is what's their existing mortgage payment versus market rents. We have to think of somebody's in a house and they haven't paid their mortgage. They're already looking to see what rent is because they're afraid they're going to get evicted or foreclosed on. So we look at that number as our biggest strategy. If they won't modify or reinstate, we talk about cash or keys or cash, deed in lieu of foreclosure. There are some government programs we can tap into in different states that the state will give us money to modify or forgive some of the payment. Sometimes we get cash payoffs. Sometimes we get short sales approved. I'm the fastest short sale approval department in the nation, And then our worst exit strategy is to foreclose. It happens still about half the time, but it's just the rule that comes in this game.
So only half of the time. That's not bad.
It's not bad. The bigger the pools we buy, the more predominant that 50% is. I don't like to buy vacant assets. I like to buy them when somebody is in them because that's my best ROI is actually to modify and keep the loan for a while, so that I'm not having a fork out foreclosure costs, taxes, repairs. If somebody's living in it, by all means, that's great. I don't care what it looks like. It might not be a house that I would live in or you would live in. But if somebody's happy living in it and making me payments on month, I'm the happiest customer. I don't like mailbox money. I like wire money.
Gotcha. So when they send you a package, you able to on there? Does it say if it's vacant or occupied?
Sometimes it will. We still have to double check that. I got a staff here that loves to Facebook stalk. They will check out the borrower, see if they've got a Facebook page, see if they got a LinkedIn page. We try to track out. We use a lot of skip tracing to track down the borrowers to see where they're at. And a lot of times we'll get the loan file, so we can see where they worked at, what their situation was, and if they've mailed in letters trying to get a short sale. Oftentimes we can see that. That gives us a lot of detective work to make a decision. Yeah, we'll go ahead and buy that one. If not, in worst case, we'll send a realtor by, call the city to see if the power is on, and that usually helps us first and foremost.
Gotcha. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So how much does someone need to get started? Or maybe a better way would be like if someone was getting started with a little bit amount of money versus someone started with a lot of money or have a lot of resources. Like where would you direct them? How to best do that? Well,
I always find that people that have no money actually do better. The why is that? Because they take the time to develop their marketing. Okay? If I get people coming to me and say, "Well, I've got 200,000 or 300,000, I don't need to raise money," and I'm like, I have to correct them. Like, yeah, you will at some point. I think having money is a great thing. People work hard. They've worked for years. I think there's nothing wrong with that. But in notes, it is a numbers game. It is not an individual deal game. Yes, you still look at individual deals, but you're looking to buy a portfolio of 20, 30, 100 assets. I mean, I got 300 plus assets in my portfolio right now. And so some deals are winners. Some deals just I'm losing a little bit of money just dumping them. I got them cheap enough because I bought other assets. But those that don't have money learn. They're more coachable. They learn how to raise private capital or tap into self-directed IRA funds or tap into their network and joint venture with other people. And so they learn how to raise capital. They're much more capable of scaling bigger. Now, where they're going to 100 deals in the first year or in the first 2 years. Now, people that have money, they get blinders on. They only look at the 300,000 they have, and they spend that. When they spend that money, then they often just kind of like, oh, well, I don't have any other money. They don't spend the time, that 6-month ramp-up time, marketing, put their systems in place, treating it like a true business to make things happen. So does that make sense, Tim? A little bit.
It does, and I guess I have a little bit misconception about it. Like for me, I thought when I think about notes, see, it's easy for me to think about real estate like with houses as an entrepreneur thing where it's more important that you're being resourceful than the resources you have, right? And so it's easy for me to think that way. And so when I think about investing in notes, I'm thinking, okay, I need to have X amount of money. It's going to be my own investments, and then hold on to it, do whatever I need to do, and then turn around and sell those notes. But yeah, so you're saying that, well, you can run this as a business just like you would in your real estate business. You don't have to just be an investor.
I think it's actually easier a little bit. I mean, you can be just an investor if you want. We have plenty of people that do that. But, if you're buying 10 assets, you're going to get probably 3 to 4 that are modified, 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 that the people will just give you the house. They'll deed it back to you. So then it becomes an REO at that point. You got to sell it. You got to either do some work or sell it quickly to somebody else. And then the other 40 to 60% of the time, you're going to foreclose. So you need attorneys. You need people to go in and weatherize a house, especially this time of year, So you got to have vendors like you do on a fix and flip. It's just a little bit different type of vendors. You have a servicer who's doing the borrower reach out, making sure all your paperwork is Dodd-Frank compliant and that you're not messing up with the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. You have real estate attorneys that are handling your foreclosures and in your documents. You have collateral companies that are holding your files for you. So you have vendors. It's just you're not managing the tile guy and the plumbing guy. You're managing the vendors for the most part. And that's what I love about it. I'm doing it from whether I'm sitting here with you guys today from Austin, or if I'm in Baltimore like I will be next week, or if I'm sitting in Hawaii, or like my buddy Robbie Woods from the Note MBA podcast. He was in Thailand 2 weeks ago managing his portfolio from there. So it's a little bit easier that way if you want to do stuff. I actually think it's easier if you're investing outside of your own market too, because you have to develop those relationships. If you just focus on your backyard, sometimes you're holding on too tight, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So, if you were able to work out a loan with the borrower, right? So now you're holding it longer. Number one, how do you decide when to say, all right, now I got it performing, I'm going to sell it, versus like, oh, this is a really good asset, I just want to hold on to this for retirement?
There's one number, Tim, that unites every real estate investor out there. It's called ROI. Return on investment. So if I have a deal that's modified, we look at the ROI. What do they bring to the table as far as some skin in the game to reinstate, and then what's their monthly payment, and what's their payment going to be after a trial modification or a forbearance agreement. And so we look at what the ROI is going to be. If it's performing well for 12 months, after 12 months, we always try to shop. Hey, someone interested in buying this at a 12 to 15% yield, so it's still a good performing deal. Like I'll give you an example. We got a deal in Chicago, Illinois. The borrower's paid on time for 9 months, making a $1,300 payment. His interest rate on the loan he took out was 14%, and so he owes about $100,000. We sell it for 90, so that's something would yield roughly a good 15% yield on a performing note. He's rehabbed the property. It's nice, beautiful brownstone. We paid less than 90, obviously, and it'd be a good return for us on that deal to get it sold. So that's what it comes down to. What's the ROI look like? Now, if we start seeing where we're making north of 25, 30% on a reperforming note every year, and that's like having a printing press. For us to sell that note off, we're going to have to make sure we're putting that money or doubling down into something that's going to really make a good return for us. So some people just like, I personally have no problem holding on to notes. I want to have 400 reperformers paying me $400 to $500 a month every month. That's great. That's it's a $1.2 million income coming in just off of performing notes if you look at those numbers like that. So not a bad way to live. Do whatever you want.
So you mentioned being resourceful, getting out of your comfort zone, building your team and stuff like that. What else is important in, what it takes to be successful in this business? Like what kind of personality do you have to be? What kind of due diligence? Give us into that war.
Two things. You can't be a lone wolf. If you're I got to do it all myself, I don't ask questions. I'm gonna figure it out myself. You're gonna end up failing. You're gonna end up stubbing your toe and getting pissed off and failing. So the people that do really well are the ones that are coachable. They'll listen. They're not ask holes, as I like to say, where they ask you questions, do something opposite. And there's enough people that are doing this business if you ask them. And I believe the note industry is really one of the best giving niches out there. Everybody is, not everybody, but for the most part, most people believe from a thing called co-opetition. It's one of the things that we preach. Being cooperating with your fellows, there's plenty of deals to go around, but also being competitive. We all have our own business that we're working on, but we can share resources. We can share vendors. Who's a better servicer? Who's a new source for your deals? That kind of stuff. So somebody who's coachable, who will listen and do the things that people tell them to do versus questioning, I think is always the biggest thing. You got to be coachable. If you suffer from over-analyst paralysis, you're not going to like the note business because especially, I hate to say this, knock on wood here, not everybody, but a lot of engineers have a hard time with notes because there's different ways. You buy a note, you hope you have one exit strategy, but it could go 5 or 6 different ways. And that's often hard for engineers to comprehend. They want to go one way, and it's, if the borrower wants to do a mod, but your goal is to foreclose, you're going to have somebody fighting you versus just go ahead and modify and have a good income come in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Okay, so be flexible. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, gotta be flexible, man. It's gonna every note has a different story behind it. So.
Right. Okay, so in terms of if people are just getting new into this business, what do give us their first 3 steps that you would recommend that they take?
Okay, first 3 steps with anything is get social. You got to have your social media. You got to have your marketing in place. That means building a database. That means having a complete LinkedIn profile. And on a LinkedIn profile where you're sitting in a bikini at the beach, guys. All right.
So professional profile.
Yeah, that professional profile. Asset managers are going to check out your profile. They're going to go to LinkedIn, type your name to see what you've done or haven't done or who you are. That's the biggest thing. You got to be social. Build a database. That's going to help you in regardless of whatever type of real estate you're doing. But those things come in so much handy because I'm a big believer that everybody in your database is either a buyer, a seller, or a funding source. They're either going to have deals for you, they're looking for deals, or they're going to fund your deals. Okay, so that's the biggest thing. The better that you are at that, the easier you are at raising capital later on. The easier you are you're moving assets or wholesaling to start off with if you want to do that. So being social. Second thing is just sharing your story. Share the good, the bad, the ugly. Don't hide from the ugly. Embrace it because somebody's been there before. It could probably save you a lot of grief if you just talk about what's going on. So spending time on Bigger Pockets and things like that or websites and message boards is a great way as well. I think the third thing is don't be afraid to take action. So many people are slow to take action. They take forever to break down a deal. They take forever to make an offer. And by the time they get around to it, that deal's long gone. So that's the thing about notes. You're not going to have 30 to 45 days to close a deal. Usually we're talking 3 days to 7 days to close an individual deal. You get longer the more you buy. But, you got to ask fast. Don't be overanalyze paralysis, and just be social and be ready to market.
That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, it sounds very similar to the real estate investing business. I mean, it's like, which is sort of a surprise to me, but yeah, it's good to hear that. It's
we see a lot of people that have spent time on short sales, doing short sale negotiations, love the note business because it's a lot of the similar things. Instead of getting a loan dequalification package approved, they're getting that and then becoming the bank to step across that side. It's less paint and carpet and toilets and tenants versus more paper and just having the banker's mentality. You have all the same rights that the bank does, but you can also be a lot more flexible. I mean, you talked earlier about some of the trends. When you look at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all these companies that come out and actually talk about how they're selling debt, HUD came out, was it 2 years ago, so they planned on selling more loans than actual REOs. And if you're a HUD buyer, you've obviously seen a reduction in inventory to HUD foreclosures because they're selling it to guys like me. Bigger hedge funds and banks are buying those assets up because they got the flexibility to do more things.
Awesome. All right, Scott. I'm sure by now the listeners are in love with you.
Hey, the ladies love Scott Carson anyway, but now.
Yes. So, how do you normally, teach people and if someone wants to reach out to you, where do you want to send them? How do they best connect with you?
Yeah. Really easy. My website's weclosenotes.com. I mean, we close deals. weclosenotes.com. You can find me just searching online. I'm all over social media. It's hard not to find videos. We've got a ton of YouTube videos, a ton of videos on Vimeo. But go to weclosenotes.com. You can find my contact information there and on the social media websites. We teach classes on a regular basis. About once a quarter, we'll teach a big virtual workshop to help people really get the nuts and bolts of the business. That's
awesome. Just out of curiosity, with you teaching people how to invest in notes, buy and sell notes, does that affect you buying notes from these banks and these hedge funds at all? Did anybody say, hey?
It doesn't. They actually love it because these guys at banks, they're used to dealing with banks. And when there's less buyers of notes, they get stuck with inventory. So this last week, I've had 2 hedge funds approach me who have assets on a regular basis. They want me to help move them. So they're like, hey, here's our list. You buy what you want. Whatever you don't want, would you help us sell them out? And so that's the big thing about having a database. We wholesale a chunk off, keep some that we want. And they actually love it because we're the ones dealing with the one-on-ones of people. They don't want to deal with 50 people. They want to deal with one person. We don't mind. We've got the staff to deal with the 50 people for 50 bids and 50 offers.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, how many staff do you have?
I've got the marketing minions that I love. I got 4 people that handle our marketing department over there. I've got some VAs abroad as well. That varies anywhere from 5 to 8 at any given moment. And then we have got my VP of operations, Stephanie Goodman, who you've met, who he kind of keeps everything rocking and rolling and the lights on, I guess you could say, here, making sure bills get paid. So, and then I have students all across the country, part of our mastermind, that they're always jumping in to help out with deals and due diligence as well too. So, So here in Austin's travel quite a bit, but Austin's home. So
right. What's your typical volume like on in terms of notes? How many you're buying in a given month?
Well, our goal, we closed in 2015. We closed 370 individual note deals, so we were averaging 1 a day. Last year, it dropped down a little bit because we restructured our company in a couple different ways, but we still did a couple hundred deals. This year, our goal is to be closing on 1 note deal per day for us, and then also at least 1 note deal for a student. So trying to do 700 to 1,000 for the year. And that means we're probably going to have to make around 2,000 bids for about a 33% close rate off the bid rate. So
that's pretty good. That's a pretty high closing rate.
It is because we've built some relationships. For most people, I tell them to expect to have about a 10% closing ratio. You make 10 offers, expect to get 1 accepted, especially starting off. And I don't think people realize that, Tim. I know some people, I'm going to make 5 offers, and I can't make any more offers because I don't have any more money beyond the 5. I'm like, hey, if you get 5 accepted or get 10 accepted, that's a good problem to have, man.
Yeah, exactly, right. Awesome. All right, one last question for you, Scott. Sure. So to me, I believe that all entrepreneurs are heroes. Do you see yourself as a hero?
I like hero as a four-letter word better than guru. A lot better. No, I don't think every true educator is, though. Some people are more so about themselves, their pocketbooks, versus helping the students. I've got a big heart. I love helping people. We, especially our real heroes out there, our military and our veterans and our past and present veterans. We like to comp those guys into our workshops and things like that. But somebody called me the other day, a note hero the other day, and I chuckled about it, because we have helped a ton of people change their lives. We've helped people leave their six-figure jobs that they hated and do something they love on a regular basis. We help a lot of people out, stay in their homes. I think we are making America great, one mortgage at a time again.
I love that. That's what I love about your marketing. You tie everything in. If it's Star Wars, you're tying in Note Wars.
If a Marvel Civil War, man, we have fun here. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think that's what the staff likes so much, is we shake it up a little bit we bring in Marvel or movies or Note Wars or Note Trek for Star Trek, and you got to keep it fresh. You got to keep it fun. We're doing something right now that we're launching for 2017 is the NFL, the Note Funding League.
Nice, the Note Funding League. I like that. Bring it to Houston. We're about to have our Super Bowl here.
Oh, that's the whole idea. We got a month to get it done to figure this out so we can launch it come Super Bowl weekend.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah. All right, Scott, it's been a phenomenal interview. I appreciate you greatly. Thank you so much for everything you shared today, buddy.
Hey, man, Tim, thank you for having me. And for everybody else out there, we're always glad to help out. Like I said, have any questions, drop us an email at the website, weclosenotes.com. Tim, anything we can do to help you, let me know, man. We're here for you.
Sounds good, buddy. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening, watching this interview. We'll see you on the next interview. All right, bye for now.
And that's our show for today. If you have any questions or would like to get further training from Tim Mai, please visit our website at www.dodeals.com/Tim.